I've painted the bezels over here for the logic displays, and what I've done, I've done my own CAD drawings here. Let me just turn some power on. Okay, so these will run at 12 volts. Let's put them at 9 because I might have a 9-volt battery in there, so let's call it 8.9. Okay, so what I've done now, I've drawn and printed this again in 123D design. It's I think 5mm thick, and I've just taken some measurements from the gaps, the openings in the sphere. So they are going to fit on like so, and then if I turn it on, these are going to be the logic displays. This is just one. I haven't got enough LEDs yet. I'm waiting for the others to arrive in the post. They're quite bright. I'll probably have to put a resistor behind them because they're actually upsetting the camera, they're so bright. But gives you an idea. So I'll have 2 of those in R2's head for his logic displays, which we'll remember, just on the left side of his eye. And then I'll do a longer one which has got different coloured LEDs on the rear logic display. Now what I've done here is taken the quick way, really, bit of a cost saving exercise. A lot of these, and it would be lovely to do this upgrade later on. I've seen people's logic displays where they're controlled by an Arduino or something, and you turn them up, it will say R2D2 Builders Club, or it will say their name so you know whose droid it is or something like that, and that would be fantastic later. But right now I'm spending more money on this than I should. I'm even considering looking at patreon.com as well to try and raise some extra funds for this. I don't know if anybody would be interested in sponsoring these builds or helping me build them. We'll look at that another day. Basically the idea is, if you like these videos, if you want to help support the channel, you can donate $1 a month or something really tiny like that, but it would just help me fund these videos, fund the builds, which means I can then pass on what I've learned, and as I learn it, to other people who may want to do it, or to people who are just enjoying watching them. So anyway, it's a thought for another day. But rather than doing an Arduino and doing all the electronics for it, what I've actually done is just bought some flashing LEDs. They're just 3mm blue flashing LEDs. They're all individual, they're not controlled by a timing circuit or anything, and I've just wired them up in parallel. Now, if you wire them up in parallel, they'll flash at their own rate. If you wire them in series, I believe, because I did this on one of my models of the Enterprise for the running lights, the first one in the circuit will dictate the flash rate for the others, so they'll all flash together, they'll blink together. Unless that was just a strange fluke that I had on that occasion. So yeah, so once I get the second one of those done, and I'll get them mounted behind the bezels, and the long one, of course, will just be the same principle. This is the one for the rear of the dome, and instead of blue there'll be, I think there's yellow, red and greens in there, and instead of just that should be, I think I've just got room for 3 rows. Yeah, 3 rows all the way along. And as I said, I might have to put a resistor behind them because they're a little bit black. Or actually, what I could do, instead of running it off of, that was 9 volts, this is 6. I'm using the camera actually to see how bright it is. So that's 6 volt. I could take it right down to 4.5 maybe. That's 4.5 volt. Getting a little dimmer, not quite so bright. Presumably they'll cut out at some point. Let's see if they'll go on 3. That's 3 volt. Okay, they're really getting a little dim now. Not sure how much longer they'll, and I don't know, it looks like the blink rate's slowing as well. I'm reducing it now, 2.5 volts. Okay, 2.5 volts, we've got pretty much stalled current. Any less than that I think they'll go off. Okay, 2.2 they won't even light. They just start to light at 2.4 volts, and then they'll go right up to, crikey, right up to 12. So I'm thinking about 4.5 volts would look alright actually. So very easy, cheap way of doing a logic display. Well, I say cheap, it's probably 30 quid worth of LEDs, but and I bought the pre-wired ones. You could save a bit more by soldering them up yourself, but there's not a lot of room back there, and you need to be pretty neat with your heat shrink and your soldering to get 40 odd. I think it's going to be about, actually, because I'm not using all the rows, it's going to be about 60, I think, between the two. Okay, quick update on R2. These are the front data ports, or the logic ports, logic displays I think they're called. Just need to tidy up a little bit of glue on one of them actually, but other than that they're not looking too bad. I've got them hooked up to a power supply, and I've just got a load of blue flashing LEDs. So if I hold those relatively in the right place, I should get a reasonable idea of what it's going to look like. Something like that, hopefully. Basically they're resin bezels that I bought off of eBay. The back plate I drew on AutoCAD 123D design, whoops, and just printed out. They're 3D printed, and the LEDs are just flashing blue 3mm LEDs. So some simpler way of having an Arduino driving fancy patterns, and this way it should be very random. They should all, sometimes they'll, you know, flash in time with each other, other times they'll go completely out of sync. So yeah, it should give an interesting display hopefully. I've got to do a much bigger one, longer one for the back, for the rear display, and that'll have some different colours in. I think they have red, green and yellow I think in there. So yeah, so I'm reasonably happy with that. I'm going to go and see what it looks like in the dome. Hi there, it's just a quick update on R2-D2. Lots going on, or has been going on. Since the last time I gave you an update, there's been quite a bit of work gone into both the electrics, the mechanics. These are, for example, the hubs for the legs. You know, I suppose they would be shoulder hubs really, except for they're attached to his legs, not his arms. But there you go. So basically, they're 3D printed. They're taken from the drawings from the club, the R2-D2 Builders Club, which I should mention. And what I did is, instead of cutting them out of styrene or wood or what have you, I decided to draw them, draw a sort of close representation of them in 123D design, and then I printed them in various different thicknesses. So we've got a 10mm, 220s. There's actually a ply wood disc right on the inside there, and I thought I'd leave that. That was what I did originally, but I thought I'd leave that because I thought it might help with a little bit of sound insulating. And I thought the wood might help to deaden the sound a little bit, because I've seen really R2 wants to be really, when he's moving around, he wants to be really nice and quiet. So so yeah, so we've got the shoulders, or the shoulder hubs. I've put a piece of I think it's MDF actually across the back here. This is where I'm going to have most of the electronics, and it's going to be accessed through the panel on the back. The legs are coming on pretty well. They're effectively made out of MDF with 3D printed sort of spines inside, spacers inside. again, made to the plans as closely as possible. There's a little strip of styrene over the edge of the leg there to do the rounded bit. Got the little recesses inside. They look terrible at the moment, they still need painting, but there's going to be the little recesses in the side there. Now the plans on the website, I'm told, are slightly out. They were short by 9mm. One of the guys told me after I'd already built the legs, unfortunately. But so what I thought I'd do is I've just 3D printed a 9mm spacer and just glued it on the bottom of each leg, and then sort of filled it and sanded it down, and that's all pretty sturdy. I've got access for the cable. I don't know if we can see through. Yeah, you should be able to see through there. Access for the cable to go right up to the top, so we can get some power down to the motors. That goes through a little tube that's in there. Don't know if I can get enough light in there, but anyway, you get the idea. So the cable's going to come in through here and just run down the leg and into the ankle. The ankle is being built at the moment. I'm doing that. That's actually out of this stuff, 3mm styrene sheet. What else have I been doing? Yeah, I cut more of the dome, the inner dome, to match the outer dome. So what I've done is taken the paint back off because it was chipping. I'm going to use automotive paint instead of acrylic paint next time. But I've used the piece that I cut out of here on the inner dome to stick to this one for the outer dome. So now we've got a nice fitting little door. And the plan is I've got some little hinges somewhere which I've ordered in. I haven't got all the hardware for them, but these are going to allow the these little doors to open, hopefully, once I can sort out some hardware for them. So I've got all of those, all nicely polished up. I was using sandpaper and wire wool to get the paint back off. This paint, as you can see on some of these, it's just chipping a little bit. It was just a bit of an early impatient colour test that I did. But what I've learned since is if you just put these in acetone or pour a load of acetone over them, leave them for a few minutes, and then the paint just literally wipes off. And what I'm trying this time round is automotive paint from Halfords. Don't know if I've got the right colour. I think this is a tad lighter actually. It's metallic blue, but I've got a sneaky feeling that might be a little light. I don't know, Ford Vision blue. So we'll see what that looks like when it's actually on one. The other thing I've learned is when I primed these, I just used ordinary grey primer, the Tamiya stuff that I use for the model builds. But again, it chips. So this has been primed with special aluminium primer, which is like an acid etch primer, and the idea is it sort of eats into the surface ever so slightly and adheres better. So that's all pretty cool. So the only other thing I've been doing is, if we look in here, I've done that's the front data port, and around the back here I've done the rear data port. And what I've done effectively, I have started learning to code Arduinos, but for now, for these, because they're really just random, is quite sufficient. So there's blue LEDs in here, and they're all just flashing LEDs, and they're all wired up in parallel, so they all flash independently of each other. And I've done the same for the rear display. And what I can do here, I've got 12 volt, 12 ampere hour battery, and that goes into a voltage regulator. So it's 12 volts going in, and you can dial this down to pretty much anything from about 4.5, 5 volts up through all the way up to about 9, I think. It'll take anything from, what is it? I can't remember. Anything up to 30 volts in, because at one point I was going to use 2 of these batteries with some scooter motors for the feet. So that's a 24 volt system, but I'm going to try and run it on 12 if I can, because it's going to be lighter and easier to have all the different electrics, because obviously these LEDs really want about 4.5, 5 volts. The radio receiver, the equipment in there, is going to want about 4.5 volts. There's an MP3 player going in that's going to want 12. So I'm going to have lots of different things with lots of different voltages, so I need some method of transferring it or transforming it down. So basically, if I just throw the switch there, we've got, they look very bright actually. They are quite bright. That's at what's that at? Let's have a look. So that's at 4.8 volts, and they're kind of bright. So that's basically the front logic display, and that's the rear logic display, which is predominantly greens, yellows and reds. There's a couple of blues. They shouldn't really be there. It's not screen accurate, but I ran out and I was a bit impatient. I just wanted to get it done. So there's a couple of stray blues in there. I could always pop them out later and replace them as time goes by. Some of the guys in the club do a far more serious version of this, which I might try. I might do one day, where it's all Arduino, and when you fire him up, you know, it'll say your name, it'll say R2D2 in there, and it'll scroll across, which would be awesome. But right for now, I'm just trying to get the basics going. So hopefully that doesn't look too bad. So you've got the two sets of logics, rear logic and the front logics. What I have done actually is I've started to make up the PSI, the front PSI, which is a processor state indicator, and that flashes between red and blue. And I've used an Arduino on that one to basically flick the LED, the red LEDs on, and then the blue LEDs, and this is going to be 1 second blue, 1 second red. But I'm going to have a look at the code on that and try and make it a little bit more random, because sometimes this flashes quite fast, sometimes it stays constant for a while. So I'm going to try and give it the appearance of being random. That's another view of how the lighting was done for the rear and front logic. There's the front logic. Let's see if I can zoom in on it for you. Simpler than it looks, really. They're just all wired in. But what I did is I took all the wiring for the front logic into a big loom, and then went down to 2 volt, 4 wires and then 2 wires. It's alright, works fine, but a little untidy. So what I did on this one is I got a permanent prototyping board, or a permo proto board. You can just see in there, and I've literally wired up all the LEDs directly to the board, and then just given the board a supply, which makes it a little bit easier and a little bit neater. So that whole unit can be removed if need be and upgraded later. He says the bezel's glued in, so hopefully that would come out later, but I think for now it's okay. I'm quite pleased with that. Right, so let's go for a little trip out to the shed. I'll show you what's going on out there, because I'm out there, I'm building the ankle. Okay, and by ankle I should have said I think this is the left ankle actually. No, this is old-fashioned way of doing things. That's the plans from the club, and basically I'm just building it out of sheet styrene. So this is going to be the left ankle. So the leg's going to fit in there. The cable goes through the hole. Cable then comes out through. There's a channel in here, and there's an access hole on the other side. Let me put that down. So the access hole allows you to get some pliers in there and manipulate the cable and thread it out through this hole, which will then go down into the foot. So as I understand it, it's going to be on the bottom of the leg like that, at about that angle, because he's going to be in 3-leg mode. So that's the first ankle. I've got to do the other one, which is a mirror image, and then I've got to do the center ankle. So lots and lots of styrene being used here. It's quite thick, 3mm, so it's quite strong. And here, this is for his eye. What I did is very much like the BB-8i. That was an 80mm clear Christmas decoration, which was cut. Now R2D2's eye is more shallow, so to get that, to achieve that, what I've done is if you go for 100mm instead of 80, basically from what I can tell the glass should only protrude about the same distance as the surround. It shouldn't come any further, and that's pretty much what that does. From the profile it just comes to the top, doesn't stick out any further, so I think that's pretty close. Obviously it'll be painted black on the inside, although I have got this idea in my mind, call me crazy, but I have got this idea in my mind to blacken the dome on the inside, leave the lens clear, and put a Wi-Fi video camera in there, so we can do something with R2's point of view, so we can see what he sees. I don't know, what do you think? Silly idea or interesting idea? I'm not sure. And that's about it, really. There's lots of work going on with BB-8. I can't show you too much because I'm helping the beta testing for the group on printing the skeleton for BB, so I can't show too much of that at the moment until that's officially released. But certainly with the R2D2 build, I can give you some updates. So that's all for right now. I'll come back and see you a bit later. While I think of this, because somebody asked me this question on the BB-8 video log that I was doing, how do you cut these spheres and get them to look right? Basically what I've done is got the half sphere as it was, which was about twice the size of this, and I just used a very small drill, about 3mm drill, 2mm drill. So I had a line that I'd drawn around the the level I wanted. And I started to just drill holes underneath that line so it would be slightly bigger than needed. And literally just drill one hole, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and just literally everyone beside the other. And then you sort of, it's all like almost like a machine gun, sort of like chain drilling holes all the way around. And then once you've done that, you can then use the drill again. You can go back in with the drill and you can use it to melt the plastic between the holes, a bit like the way I do the windows on the model builds, like the Voyager I'm building at the moment. And then that gives you a cut all the way around. It's very rough, and then literally, a bit tedious, but then you just literally, obviously I can't do it with one hand, but basically I'm just running this backwards and forwards and sometimes in a circular motion just to cut that back until it's about the right depth, until it fits in there, and that's fitting pretty close now, I think. Yeah, so that's pretty much the effect I was looking for. So there we go. So just a quick tip, obviously you could use a Dremel and you could try and cut a more precise line around there, but you're still going to need to file it and finish it off later anyway. But you know, if you haven't got a cutting tool the right shape or the right speed, because obviously speed is important with plastics. If it's too fast, it just melts too quickly. So yeah, just a very quick tip on how to do the eye, and the same method applies for both BB-8 and R2D2. Back later. Okay, progress on R2's left ankle. That's pretty much it, built up as per the instructions. So that's that stage there. I've put in the packing which it describes, and I've just cut or drilled and tapped the M8 hole that's going to go right the way through, which apparently is for locking the ankles into position if if you decided to keep it in 2-leg or 3-leg mode, which I'm going for the 3-leg mode. So yet to see how that's going to be used, but it's there. I can always fit it in later on if it's not used, but so far these instructions have been pretty good. So yeah, the hole and tap must go all the way through. This will mean that the all thread, which is American for studding, M8 studding, transfers the force to both sides rather than just one side of the ankle. So okay, so now interesting bit. So now we're going to make this shape on the side of the ankle. So I've got the plans. I'll just show you basically how I'm going through and doing this. Now this is going to be a difficult one to cut, and this is going to be the easiest because of the curve. So I'll get them cut out. Basically I cut these out from here, stick them onto the styrene sheet, and then cut them in whatever way is best. Now a knife and a steel ruler is great if you're doing straight edges, so not quite sure how I'm going to do with this. Do lots of straight edges and then file it round, or whether I'm just going to, you know, do the drill trick. I'm not sure, so I'll make a start and we'll see how we go. Okay, just a little update at the end of the day. That's the ankle. The curve bit was quite difficult. The 1mm styrene is actually very springy, and it just did not want to go to the shape required. So tons of glue, tons of tape, so we'll see in the morning whether I'm going to get away with that or not. Hopefully it's going to be alright. Over here I've just primed the pie panels again. First time around they didn't really take very well, the paint very easily chipped. So as for some advice, or after some advice from one of the guys in the R2D2 Builders Club, I got this, which is etch primer. Basically it's for cars, it's automotive paint, and it's for painting bare metal, and the idea is it's got a slightly acidic or corrosive element to it, so it actually supposedly eats into the surface a little bit, so you get a much better coat and much better adhesion. So I was a bit nervous at first, but I tried it on a piece earlier on, which is okay. The colour blue is far too light, so that's got to be done again, but the primer's gone on well and the paint's gone on well, so apart from the fact it's just not a good colour, it needs to be darker. The original paint that I was using was this, which was much better, but that's acrylic paint, and I'm not so sure acrylic is really the way to go on this now. I use acrylics for the models, but I'm thinking on the full-size droids maybe it would be better to use automotive paint. It's going to stay on longer. I tried this, according to the can to the top it looked very good colour match, but when you look at that to that, it's come out quite a bit paler, unless it just needs multiple coats. So I don't know, I might try some more coats on that tomorrow, let it dry and then try some more coats, so we shall see. I did read somewhere on one of the club forums, I think, that they actually paint these panels purple first and then blue to get the particular shade, but I'm not too sure about that, so don't quote me on that just yet. Anyway, so we've got left leg is almost ready for the ankle. Ankle is just needs a couple more pieces on, a little bit more work, and then that's ready to be fitted. And in the meantime, I'm sort of just neatening up some of the dome panels as well. But that's me pretty much done for one day, so I shall catch you next time.